Welcome back, everybody, to another spoiler edition. Again, the key word being spoiler edition of the Bodacious Rant with Burn and Rye. I'm joined again by my great, awesome colleague, Rye. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really great, Bernie. How are you?
I am great. And right now, we are going to be talking about the Eternals. Marvel's Eternals, Chloe Zhao's film that just came out. We talked about it on our spoiler-free video. If you haven't seen that one, check that one out because, this one is a spoiler discussion. So we're going to be diving right into it. And that is, I feel like as much warning as you need. You know, if you see the title, you see the thumbnail, you know this is spoilers. And we're just going to jump right into it. How do you feel about that, Rye?
I say let's get to it, Bern. Why not?
Let's just rip the Band-Aid off, I think. You know? So where I want to start off first is the technical aspects of the movie, just because I don't really have too much to say about that. I feel like we can knock that off pretty quick. For me, I will say that the movie is it is visually beautiful. I think it's like one of the more distinct looking Marvel movies, just for the fact of Chloe Zhao's eye, which is very apparent here. Like if you've seen her previous work, The Rider and what did she Nomadland. So she uses a lot of like natural lighting, and that's apparent here. And then she also does a lot of on-set shooting, which I think is a nice change of pace because I don't know about you, but I can kind of tell that a lot of Marvel movies are shot on a stage. I don't know if you noticed that.
To be honest, no. I will say this. I visually liked the tone of this movie. That it was supposed to be more of like an epic story. We'll talk about more of the plot in a little bit, but visually wise, I had no problem. The only thing that I will definitely say can and did kind of hurt this movie when I was watching it was the whole IMAX. Why market it that's available in IMAX when hardly any of it was in IMAX, or at least it felt like that. I mean, maybe if I really paid attention to it, but there were a couple key scenes that you could tell IMAX immediately went back to standard. It cut back and forth, and I thought this is not worth the editing. Like, why even have it IMAX? Either shoot it all in IMAX or a good portion of that scene in IMAX, or don't use any of it at all and just keep to standard. I thought that was very just clunky. It felt clunky, like watching. I was like, ugh, it's hurting my eyes a little bit. Like, what the hell am I looking at here?
Yeah, that was very surprising because Marvel and I think a lot of other blockbuster movies lately have been doing a good job of implementing IMAX into their movies, where it seems that they like set entire sequences. They make it all in the IMAX ratio, so that way when we get to that action sequence, the frame isn't like cropping in and cropping out constantly. For example, No Time to Die is one with the IMAX like really works there. And even in the last Marvel movie, Shang-Chi, I feel like they use that in the action sequences, especially in the third act, to, show you the scale of the events that were going on. And here they use that to that effect, but like you said, it was very clunky. Like it wasn't like an entire sequence, like a whole action scene was in that ratio. It would jump back and forth constantly. So it felt like the proper planning wasn't done, and overall it kind of hurt the viewing experience. Like you said, like maybe this is one that people should skip the IMAX for, and they should just go see it in maybe like a Dolby or a Prime theater where the ratio will stay the same the whole time, and you still get like a little bit of a bigger screen. So I think that is probably the best way to go for this movie, and that sucks to say because. From the trailers, the IMAX ratio when that would come in before we watched an IMAX movie, it looked really cool. And unfortunately, it's just one of those things where it's like, again, this movie is a lot of a mixed bag, and the IMAX part of it was unfortunately one of them.
Put Dune back in IMAX. That's what I want.
I don't disagree there. I would have liked to see that movie in IMAX again. But yeah, I mean, I guess other than the IMAX ratio jumping back and forth, I did like the naturalistic tone of it. The way that she used the camera was was nice. You know, there was a lot of close-ups. One thing I will say I did get tired of was the posing shots. You know, there was a lot of shots of them, in their like hero poses with the sun like right behind them. I was like, the first time it was nice, but after a few times I was like, okay, this is getting a little bit repetitive, Chloe.
Yeah, like I said, man, this movie just. I agree with you. I'm just gonna say more of my criticisms for the other sections we're talking about. So let's keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Onward and forward. So I wanted to touch on the story next because this is one where I feel like it's unavoidable talking about it. You know, the overall general plot. You know, like as you laid out before, was that these Eternals are sent to Earth after the deviants were initially sent to these different alien planets to sort of like take away the apex predators of that. So basically clearing the way for sentient life, which I thought was a really neat idea, and that they eventually got sentient and started like killing everything, and it's just like it was just a mess. And that the Eternals were sent to take them out and help foster life. And I thought that was like really cool. Like you're getting to see the history of Earth as it stands in the MCU, which I thought was very interesting. That they were like, oh, you know, it was the Eternals that were the ones in charge of foster, you know, humanity and our growth and stuff. So I thought that was a nice little twist. Where my problems lie, unfortunately, is the structure, and I don't know how you felt about that. The whole, we feels like we start the movie like in the middle, and we keep constantly going back to events that happened in the past. For me, it just felt very disjointed, and it didn't do the characters justice.
You know what they should have done is start at the end and then go back to the beginning and then keep cutting in, because it's just a linear story.
Otherwise it's just linear.
But I felt the flashbacks were a little clunky, like added in to the point where it was a little. It really just chopped up the movie in not the best way. Nothing felt like it was very organic and happening. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I think you hit it right on the nail, where it was just starting in kind of the middle of their journey. I think for something like this, since it's so far back, you kind of need to start at the beginning just to really put it into perspective, because it was just weird. You know, I don't know. It just wasn't the strongest start to it. I was like, okay, like, cool, but just didn't. It was just very. I don't know. Keep going though. I'll gather my thoughts as we keep going.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it does a huge disservice to the characters, especially Ajax. You know, we get to know her briefly, and then she dies. I mean, again, spoilers, everybody, but Salma Hayek's character is just dead, like 10 minutes into the movie, and it's supposed to be a big deal. You know, a lot of the Eternals, like they take that death seriously. Like, I mean, we see it happen on screen where they're affected by it. But me as an audience member, I'm like, I didn't even get to know her. I mean, I don't really know her relationship to the other characters, and it's such a weird decision to make, to again start there before we've established their relationships, and then to start having them get killed off. It's like, I didn't even get to know this person, so this death doesn't really affect me emotionally.
Yeah, and then the whole Icarus being I mean, I know I'm jumping a little bit, but it's like also I'm not familiar with the Eternals at all, so I don't know what their comic book characters are like. And I'm interested in reading the books, but not because of in a good way. It's like I want to read it just to compare them to the characters in the book, in the movie, because like the whole Icarus being a borderline villain was just that was a little weak sauce. That, oh well, I have a duty to do. Like, we all need to stand by the mission. It's like, okay, but you kind of don't really see the predicament here. And him kill, and we find out he killed Ajax. I was like, okay, well, that was a horrible way for her to die. Like, horrible as in, like, this is just dumb. Like, I thought she was the leader of them, so I expect a little more from her. And it just was not. I really can't put into it. I mean, there's not much I can think without like really like getting into it was just the whole, Ajax thing, and then some of them not really coming apart. I think the whole Dane Whitman thing, like with oh my god, not Jon Snow. What the hell is his name right now?
Kit Harington.
Kit Harington. Thank you. Can't believe I almost called him Jon Snow. I thought.
Well, he was Jon Snow for like 10 years, so it's okay. It's fair.
That's fair. And I thought him including this was just a glorified cameo. Like he really, they made it seem like he was going to be a much more important character in this movie, and he really wasn't. So I thought that was kind of wasted. The more I think about it, and the ending was just completely just weak. Like there was nothing for me to really care about the outcome of this movie. I kind of hate to say it, but by the time the climax started hitting, I was like, "Are we almost there yet?" Because this is, let's get to it. Like let's move on with this now, kind of. And that's really shameful to say, but I was just not into the plot with this movie. I thought it didn't explain the gravity enough of everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. We're building up to these events, and again, they don't really take any emotional effect because we're kind of like, it felt like we were dragging our feet along. Unfortunately, where the movie's a simple premise where it's like it's the getting the band back together narrative. Where we have these group of people, and they had split up at some time before, and now we're trying to get them back together to save the world, essentially. And it feels like that plot line just takes way too long. We don't get Fastos until maybe like 20-30 minutes before the movie ends. It felt like, I mean, I don't know the number exactly, but like him and Makari, him and Makari, we don't get to see them until later on. Sometimes like I even forgot that they were there. So it's like, man, they really should have like structured it differently where, the death of Ajax really brought them all together immediately. It felt like they didn't need to like extend that part of the story. It feels like that should have just been one of those things where that's the end of the second or the end of the first or the beginning of the second act. Where I feel like a good comparison, I think, is Watchmen, where it's a lot of characters that we really don't know about, and a death of a character brings everyone back. And I feel like if they had structured it that way, where using the flashbacks effectively for having these, like each character had their own flashback, and the flashback was their relationship with Ajax. And so we get to learn more about her and her effect on the team, and we get to learn more about each character. And we get all that over with within like the first half of the movie. I feel like that would have been like a little bit of a better introduction, especially because, like you said, we don't really know about these characters. They're very niche, even within the Marvel universe. So it's like, again, this is them extending that part of the story. It just took way too long, and the Deviants were also one of those things that suffered for it too. They were just completely underdeveloped. The main one, I forget his name, if he even had a name. I just recently found out he was played by Bill Skarsgård, the It, and I was like, well,
wow,
I would have never known.
No wonder he was credited in it, because I was thinking like, who the hell was Bill Skarsgård in this movie? But man, no, and the Deviants. I'll talk more about the Deviants and the characters, but completely again weak sauce. That's my whole definition for this plot. Just because I feel like no matter how you spin it, even if we did all the history parts in the beginning, it's like, okay, so half the movie you're going to have to rush through as well. It just, it wasn't the best way to do it. Why not keep Salma Hayek's Ajax alive? Why didn't she even have to die to begin with? It just, there was like, and why didn't she have to be in it at this point at all if she was just going to die, And that's the thing. I don't like that they treated Salma Hayek's like, her grandeur and her status in Hollywood as just a throwaway character in the Marvel movie. And I'm like, dude, you guys totally wasted that A-list talent for something like 5 minutes maybe. So I just did not care for the writing nor the direction of what they did with her character alone. And then just, half of them were just not even great to watch. I was like, no, not half of them, maybe only a couple of them. I was just like, cool, you're here.
Yeah, and it's very unfortunate too, because there are some really good ideas here, like the ideas that, I mean, I guess the twist that the Eternals are essentially the harbingers of the birth of a Celestial from the planet, destroying the planet, it's like that's such a cool concept where like they were like essentially they were kind of the bad guys all along, you know, unknowingly of course, but essentially it's them bringing on the desolation of an entire race or an entire planet for the a potential birth of like others. So it's like a lot of like crazy like moral ideas, but it's just done so half baked where again you just do it. I for me I just wasn't invested.
I didn't care when it happened. I was like, man, this would have been a lot more epic. Where it's like, oh my god, you guys are horrible.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, huh, cool, like that makes sense, I guess, but also just dumb. I just had no feelings for it, and that's a bummer because there have been way better stuff. Like Shang-Chi had more comedy and wasn't as serious. I had a lot more heart and emotion into it than this movie did, and was such a great talent in the cast, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But it was just, it was bad.
Yeah, like you said, it felt like the movie was emotionally distant. You know, like you said, it felt like this movie didn't have a lot of heart. And I mean, if you guys watching, like if you found it like very like you were able to connect to it, that's awesome. Like I really wish I had that experience. You know, because I don't want to go into come out of a Marvel movie like being like, oh man, I just didn't connect with that. Like I really want to invest. Like I'm so invested in this universe. I'm like I want everything to be good. So it is a little disappointing that it's like we're getting all these very interesting characters in concept, but in execution, it's just like it leaves you lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I think we could dive in like right into the characters, which again, I feel like they were very surface level for the most part. There wasn't a lot of dimension to them. I think there was paid more like lip service than we actually got to see, but I don't know about you. Which ones really like stuck out to you?
Well, I'm gonna just get my negative out of the way before I dive into my positives, just to say that case. Character design alone, it was pretty poor. They looked a little too similar. Like, besides the colors and slight subtle designs on them, I was like, this isn't enough for me to really like. I hate to say it. I mean, given it's a very diverse cast, and I love the cast all around.
That is great.
I love that. However, they still looked alike. There was really nothing discerning him from another. And I feel like if you were they should have had more fun with it. Because even the comic book versions, they don't look that cool for the most part. And they should have had more fun with it. Their suits could have really played more into what their powers were. Or even like their rank in the team or something like that. And there really wasn't anything to do that. Having said that, though, there were some really I think the cast was the strongest aspect of this film. Again, not only being diverse, but overall just, such a great talent. Like Richard Madden as Icarus, I was expecting more from him. He was the blandest out of all of them, but I'm not gonna say it's not a movie I think that breaks his career. I think he still has a long career in Hollywood among him. Salma Hayek, again, even though she was in a little bit, still great. Can't complain about her. Barry Keoghan, I really liked his version of Druid. Very almost like a devil character, but he's a good guy, so I kind of like that aspect of him. But the best ones were Angelina Jolie as Thena, Brian Tyree Henry as Faustos, and then let me get the other names for the other actors. I apologize. Hold on one second. Eternals cast. But basically, I love the actor that played Gilgamesh. He was really he was great in it.
Don Lee, I think is like his. He has his Korean name, but I think he just goes by Don Lee here because a lot of people can't.
Yeah, it's probably the easiest.
Pronounce it.
We're a bunch of uncultured swine in America. Yeah.
Yes, we are. We definitely are.
Kumail Nanjiani as Kingo was hilarious. I think without him, this movie would be so much worse off. And
yeah, I think out of all of them, he fits like the MCU mold the best.
Oh, absolutely, he's the most MCU out of all of them. And then I will say Gemma Chan as Cersei. It's great seeing Gemma Chan, especially having more of a role than she did in Captain Marvel as the Kree. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but yeah, she was in that one too.
Yeah, the sniper.
Yeah, and let me see, what was Makari's name?
Lauren Ridloff.
Lauren Ridloff. She was also such a joy to see when she came on, and she had the best fighting out of. She is the rage of the internet, that she is the best speedster to have fight scenes. I'm like, yeah. Besides Flash's Speed Force moment in Zack Snyder's Justice League this year, I was like, Lauren Ridloff, Chloe Zhao, I will say this. That was your saving grace. You knew how to film a decent action scene in the climax, and you nailed down Makari. I think that was some of the coolest effects I've seen the Speedster do to somebody. So, I think they were my favorite. Brian Tyree Henry, just as Faustus, playing a really open LGBTQ character. That was a nice sight to see. They didn't, because he has a full-on moment with his husband where, and I like that they played it that there wasn't how some movies do a feminine and a masculine couple. There wasn't any of that. They were equals, and I really liked that about them. They were just so diverse, and their kiss too, together. I was like, man, that's the kind of love everybody wants right there. I was like, damn it. And then Angelina Jolie, I think she was definitely the best one to be cast in this movie, the best choice for an A-lister besides Salma Hayek and some of the other ones I talked about, just because she played off Thena's,
Mad Weary
/ superhero, eternal dementia, the best, where she's a warrior who's kind of lost in her own time and mind, and she's trying to hold it together. I think she nailed that perfectly. So, yeah, the characters were the best part, even though visually wise they were the weakest. But it was still, I liked Athena's suit the best. It actually looked like a warrior's armor. When I think the goddess Athena, that's what I would think for the MCU.
Yeah, she's the MCU's equivalent of Wonder Woman. She's awesome, and like you said, her whole look and her powers themselves are it was super cool. I liked seeing her just create these light weapons. It was really dope to see. But I mean, yeah, the diversity aspect is really awesome to see. This is the most diverse cast, and then it makes sense for the story too, because if these people are essentially fostering the life on Earth, it stands to reason that they would represent all aspects of life on Earth. So I thought that was a really nice touch, and again, like you said, they were casted really well. And yeah, for me, Lauren Ridloff, she was one of the biggest standouts. I don't think she has had too much of a body of work. I think she's been mainly known on The Walking Dead, but she was awesome here. Like you said, her speedster action scenes were amazing. Like you said, in Zack Snyder's Justice League, that one was really cool. Days of Future Past, Quicksilver was really cool, but we never seen speed used in fighting.
Nope.
Flash doesn't really fight in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and neither does Pietro in Days of Future Past. But here she's beating the shit out of Icarus, and that was really, really cool to see. So that sequence was dope. Like we mentioned, Kingo, Kumail Nanjiani, he fits perfectly in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's just, he's got that vibe about him. The digs that him and Drew were going back and forth, you're an actor. I've directed things too. How many views do you get? I don't do it for the views. All that stuff was great. I loved him so much. And yeah, I know they wanted to pose Cersei as the one that had this deep connection to mankind, but I honestly didn't really feel that from her so much. It's paid lip service that as soon as you got here, you were in love with humanity. I was like, okay, you're telling me that, but other than your relationship with Dane, I don't really feel that. I felt it more from Fastos, someone who having created the atomic bomb and just feeling the emotional effects of giving humanity this technology to decimate each other, and then walking away from all that and finding love. He's the one that develops an actual relationship with someone, for human, starting a family. So I really felt that emotional core from him. So that aspect really worked for me. Whereas I know they were trying to say that Cersei had that connection, but I didn't really get that, too much. So Gemma Chan, like you said, did a good job I liked her chemistry with Kit Harington.
Mm-hmm.
You know, him the brief time he's on screen, I thought he was great. He showed a lot of charisma and a lot of like comedic timing, stuff that we didn't get for obvious reasons in Game of Thrones. But yeah, I really liked their connection. I just felt like her and Icarus was, like you said, like very bland. Icarus himself, I know Richard Madden. He's a good actor, but I think it was the direction here. I think there was like I think he was told to play it more, stoic, emotionless. So I think in that aspect, it kind of hurt him. It reminded me a lot of Brie Larson and Captain Marvel, where it felt like she was given the direction, and characters in the story too were telling her to rein her emotions in. So every time like she would like light up and like have a little bit of personality, it would get shut down real quick. And that's what it felt like here. Like this was like that equivalent of Icarus just not emoting. So when we get that heel turn, it's kind of like I wish we would have got a little bit more like conflict within him. I wish they would have sold that throughout the movie of like him being at odds with his duty and being actually in love with Cersei. I wish we would have seen that more from him. We only got that at the end, like after they do the whole Unimind and he's on the floor and he's like in tears, like saying that he's sorry for like almost allowing this thing to happen. That was the only time I really connected with him. So I mean, I don't know. What did you think about that?
Like you said, I think this was just not the best movie for him, mostly because of direction. Because I've seen him be a real, like, okay, not be a real actor, that's really derogatory, but be like, I've seen him do some great acting, especially in The Bodyguard. And, he was great on Game of Thrones. And I will say this, seeing Richard Madden and John and Kit Harington, God, I want to call him Jon Snow so bad. This was like one of the first movies I thought, man, I do not see him that way at all. And I'm really glad they at least did that. And Dane, yeah, I did like Dane for the few minutes he was in. I just thought his character has actually not much of a cool factor, but he has more emphasis, especially in the more recent comics in Marvel. So I thought that was just kind of like why was he even brought in until like,
it was very much like just a setup,
and it was just whatever. But overall, like I said, I think the actors did the best they could with what they had. But Kumail Nanjiani, Brian Tyree Henry, and Angelina Jolie, I think were the biggest standouts for me, like hands down. And Lauren Ridloff, again, just I really like that. Bringing a deaf actor into this was really powerful. And she didn't have to say anything; she just signed everything. I was like, man, I see everything in that, and she did a great job. So I think the cast again, great job on that. Just it's not necessarily your fault.
Yeah, the cast did a good job, and I think their singular stories were interesting. Again, it's just one of those things where the sum wasn't equal to the parts. Like I felt like the parts worked better on their own than they did in service of the overall story, which is like one of those things that maybe there should have been a series, where we could have had their isolated storylines going on and introduced the characters before a movie. Like I feel like maybe that would have been a little bit better. A little bit more time to work with these characters. You have the luxury of length, with the series, especially on Disney Plus. I feel like maybe that would have been a little bit of a better outlet for introducing these characters on like a smaller, intimate scale, and then have the movie be what it was. This big like epic like fight for Earth survival. I think they maybe they should consider that going forward whenever they want to introduce newer characters to the Marvel universe, and it's like a huge cast. Maybe do something on Disney Plus and then have that lead into a movie. I think would probably be a little bit better.
Redo the Inhumans on Disney Plus, and I think that may serve them a lot better because that show is like non-existent anymore, and I think that's exactly what the Eternals is almost what Inhumans wanted it to be, something epic and something very grounded into the MCU, but they just couldn't execute it with the ABC budget that they had. And I think this, when you put it that way, this movie would have been a lot better as like a mini series or something to really bring them out, and they could still keep it canon, but it is what it is. The damage has been done. The movie's out there. There's definitely no talks of a sequel anytime soon, and that's really unfortunate because so we introduce all these characters, even if it is bad, you're not going to touch up on it. Like, you're just going to kind of throw it away. That's not smart either, because then it's like you're just wasting part of the MCU that could really contribute to the expansion of it all. So I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see what's going to happen in the near future with that.
Yeah, and that's very interesting to hear, especially with how the movie ends. You know, where at the end, after they've stopped the birth of Tiamat, Arishem, you know, the Celestial that was the one that created these Eternals to go, you know, create life or like foster life. He shows up. He shows up on Earth and like essentially like, brings the Eternals that are remaining there, which I think was Cersei, Kingo, and Phastos, right?
No, he also does take Sprite and
Okay. Because Makari and Druig are on the Domo, right? They're off like looking for other Eternals.
Makari, Athena, and
Athena,
and
that's
Druid,
right.
yeah, they dipped. So it was the other four that they took because Icarus offed himself in the sun. he not too close. He just flew into it.
Yeah, I thought that was very on the nose. I was like, okay, like it's a little bit obvious.
It's like, so we're just gonna kill off this character now when he's like basically the face of the Eternals. Like, cool. Let's see what happens with that. But anyways, are we gonna talk about that post-credit scene though?
Yeah. So I mean, they're all gone. Like not Tiamat. Arishem is like, we're gonna judge Earth based on like your memories, and we get to the post-credit, the first, the mid-credit scene where it's like you said, Athena, Makari, and Druig aboard the Domo. And then we're introduced to Pip and Eros. Pip played by I'm forgetting his name. Damn it, I lost his name. But Eros played by the great Harry Styles. I think we all love him. Playing the Marvel equivalent of the God of Love, Eros. But here he says it in the mid credit scene. He's a brother of Thanos and he's an Eternal, which I thought was like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't know Thanos could have like a human looking brother. I thought he came from a race of purple people.
Yeah, with weird chins, but I mean,
scrotum chins.
To be honest, I don't really listen to a lot of hairstyles stuff, so he's kind of like, cool. I don't know who you are, bro. I mean, I did like him in Dunkirk and stuff, but
yeah,
I don't listen to his music.
That's the only time I've seen him act.
I am uncultured when it comes to music, so but I did like that part. I'm like, this will be an interesting take. Like, Thanos' brother comes into play. Like, where were you now? Like, again, that's the problem with when they keep bringing on these new origin characters. Like, that they just, especially the Eternals, there's no explanation for it to be like absolute. There's so many plot hole questions to it. Like, where the fuck have you guys been? How does Thanos even have this brother? So they better. I think they're definitely have to explain a lot, and they're gonna need a solid team of writers to really try and nail these guys down.
Yeah, Patton Oswalt was the actor.
That's really, he was. I could see that a little bit. He was great. Mm-hmm. He was funny.
So like, I mean, I didn't really know what to feel about the mid credit scene. Like, these two characters, again, Eternals is a property I'm not really familiar with. So I guess maybe if someone who is an Eternals fan, when these two characters show up, it's like, oh my god, like the implications. The implications. It's amazing.
He's gonna get on their ship, but they're not gonna say no because of the implication.
Yeah, yeah. They're gonna go find Arishem and they're gonna find the other Eternals and they're gonna make him stop. Because if he doesn't, there's gonna be
the implication.
There's the implication.
You gotta do the implication. Like,
yeah, just the dead stare.
It's like, are you gonna hurt these people? I'm not gonna hurt these people. Why would I hurt them? I don't think you get this. I don't get it. No, I don't get it at all. But. And then the last one, I don't know if you'd be able to answer this. I thought actually the post-credit was pretty cool, pretty funny, just because we find out in the end of the movie Dane he's like, well, my family history is very complicated, as a matter of fact. And, he's trying to open this case on his desk, and he's just, I can't do it. And it's like, but I gotta do it. He opens it up, and you see this long broadsword with almost look like a symbiote effect, where he's trying to touch it, and I forgot there was an inscription on it that said, "The only thing that matters is death," or "The only thing I live for is death."
Death is my reward.
Death is my reward, and he's just like, I gotta do it. And the sword, like, he's trying to touch the blade, and I really like that effect that it's like speaking to him, that he has to take it. And then you hear somebody, which I don't know if you can confirm this, if you've heard the confirmation. I have. Oh, I haven't. I have seen that's been confirmed. I just can't see who. But they say, "Are you ready for that, Mr. Whitman?" Looks like what? And I mean, do you know who it was, or should we just guess?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely know who it was.
Who was it? Tell me.
It was Mahershala Ali's
Okay, it was
Blade.
Oh my God, the Daywalker.
That
himself.
was confirmed, in fact, by Chloe Zhao, like in an interview like a few days ago.
For sure. Oh man, it was his voice. I couldn't tell. I'm not. It was hard to tell. Like at first, but I'm like, wait, Mahershala Ali, the Daywalker. So
Cottonmouth from the Netflix show.
Oh my God, that's right. He's another guy to play another couple of Marvel characters.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. But I'm just curious to see, like, Blade is now talking to the Black Knight himself. Like, how does this matchup gonna work?
Yeah.
I don't get why that happened, but I'm very interested to see where it could go from just that scene alone. Now I'm like, Dane Whitman better show up in more Marvel stuff if the Eternals doesn't come out, because, dude, the Black Knight actually, again, he's another very prominent character in Marvel right now. So we'll have to see.
Like the whole like ebony blade, like it's such a cool idea. You know, like this blade that can cut through essentially anything. You know, like it's just like it's like the vibrating of witchcraft or something. It's such a cool thing, but like how every time like the blade, like you use the blade to kill someone, you go mad. Like the blade like has a curse or something that drives you mad. I'm like, that's such a cool idea, and I really liked Dane's characterization here of you know, being a little bit more like lively and witty. So it'll be interesting to see going forward, you know, like how that blade starts to corrupt him, like every time he uses it.
He reverts back to Jon Snow, just, my watch has ended.
My queen. I don't want it. But yeah, it's like, how is he going to tie in with Blade? I'm very curious, like how that's going to connect. Like I wonder if it's going to be like a Marvel Knights situation, you know, with the upcoming Moon Knight
series. And I really hope they bring back Ghost Rider, because him and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that was the best season for me because of oh my God, Gabriel Rivera, I think is his name.
Robbie Reyes?
Well, I mean, think of the actor Gabriel Luna, the actor's name, as Robbie Reyes. That was such a highlight, and they hinted at Johnny Blaze in that one too. So it's like, the Ghost Rider exists. Where the fuck is he? Let's bring him in. Moon Knight, and then with Spider-Man, you know, the multiverse situation. Will Morbius come into the MCU as well? Yeah. So let's give him an actual vampire to go after. The birth of vampires, essentially. I think that'd be pretty cool. But anything else you got? Do we have for the people burn?
No, I mean that's really like all I've had to say about it. You know, I think we kind of covered it pretty much. Again, this movie is a little bit of a mixed bag. You know, there's a lot of good aspects of it, and mainly the characters and their individual stories. But it's weighed down by this really like poorly structured plot that it undercuts it almost at like every turn. But yeah, like the end credits scenes, the implications of them are like very interesting. I'm very curious to see where Marvel goes with this. You know, where I doubt it's going to be picked up in No Way Home. So I think we're going to have to wait a little while to see where these plot threads pay off. But yeah, overall, for me, you know, the weakest Marvel movie to release this year. One of the weaker ones, and one that I don't think I will be revisiting too much. Mainly, I'll probably just come back to see the forest action sequence, and then the scenes with Command on Johnny, and the action scenes at the end.
I mean, in all honesty, this is the Marvel movie you can skip. I think you'll be fine.
As of now, I think so.
At least as of now, until we know there's more sequels coming and what their implications have caused for the rest of the new heroes and stuff, like Shang-Chi, you know, Florence Pugh's Yelena, and then like the new heroes from the Marvel, the Disney Plus series. We'll have to see what that's brought on, but until then, I think this is one you could miss, and that's really unfortunate. But until next time, guys, November still has a couple movies coming out, like Ghostbusters Afterlife, and what else? I can't think of anything much for December. I think Ghostbusters is really the next big thing. And then we got Spider-Man No Way Home coming out to finish off the year. And that's definitely high up on my list for right now. So I can't wait.
And the Hawkeye series too.
And the Hawkeye series, yes. That's another one I hope will deliver. But until next time, stay bodacious, keep on ranting. Above all, stay safe. And, as we go into the holidays, guys, be merry and, happy holidays.
Yeah, good tidings all around, everybody. And we will see you all on the next one.
God bless us, everyone.
I hate Christmas. I hate it.